The night it happened, everything I believed about love, timing, and quiet sacrifices cracked open under the glow of a flickering porch light, because one brief kiss seen by the wrong pair of eyes awakened a truth that had been buried for years. It was the kind of moment that seems small from the outside, almost forgettable, yet it sent shockwaves through my life, my past, and the life of the neighbor who had watched me from across the fence in silence. What followed was not drama for entertainment, but a slow, aching unraveling of hearts that had been pretending they were fine. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of human connection, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel, because stories like this remind us that love often shows up when we least expect it. I lived in a modest neighborhood in Oregon, the kind of American street where people waved politely but rarely crossed emotional boundaries. My name is Nathan, and for most of my adult life, I had learned to live carefully. After a painful breakup years earlier, I focused on work, routine, and solitude, telling myself that stability was enough. Across the narrow strip of lawn separating our houses lived my neighbor, a woman named Hannah, who had moved in around the same time I did. She was quiet, kind in subtle ways, the sort of person who brought in trash cans for others when it rained and left her porch light on for no one in particular. We shared polite nods, occasional smiles, and nothing more, though I often felt her presence in ways I could never explain. Hannah had her own life, her own history, and a sadness that seemed to cling to her like a shadow at dusk. I later learned she had lost her husband years earlier and never truly recovered, choosing instead to exist rather than live. At the time, all I knew was that there was a heaviness in her eyes whenever our paths crossed, something unspoken that made me look away out of respect or fear. We were two people living side by side, pretending that silence was enough. Everything changed the evening Rachel came over. Rachel was a co-worker from another department, someone I had recently grown close to after months of shared lunches and late conversations about life. She was warm, spontaneous, and unafraid to show affection in ways I had forgotten how to receive. That night, after dinner and laughter, she kissed me near the front door, an innocent gesture filled with promise. What neither of us realized was that Hannah was standing on her porch, keys in hand, frozen in place as she witnessed something that shattered the careful walls she had built around her heart. I did not see Hannah at first, but I felt a shift in the air afterward. Over the next few days, the warmth of her usual nod disappeared. Her porch light stayed off. The trash cans remained by the curb longer than usual. Something had broken, and I could feel it even without words. Guilt crept in without logic, because I had done nothing wrong, yet the sense that I had unknowingly wounded someone weighed heavily on my chest. Rachel noticed my distraction, the way my eyes drifted toward the fence when we talked. Our relationship, still new and fragile, began to strain under the weight of my emotional confusion. I realized then that I was not as available as I thought I was, not because of my past, but because of a present I had been ignoring. Hannah had become part of my emotional landscape without my consent, and now I was forced to confront it. One rainy afternoon, fate intervened. A storm knocked out power across the neighborhood, and I found Hannah struggling with a fallen branch blocking her driveway. Without thinking, I stepped in to help. There were no words exchanged at first, just shared effort under gray skies. When we finally paused, soaked and tired, I saw tears in her eyes that had nothing to do with the rain. Years of restraint crumbled, and the truth spilled out in quiet desperation. Hannah admitted that seeing Rachel kiss me had reopened wounds she thought were healed. It reminded her of the love she lost and the life she never allowed herself to rebuild. More painfully, she confessed that over the years, watching me live so close yet so far had awakened feelings she never intended to have. Jealousy, she said, was not about possession, but about regret and fear of being invisible. That moment changed everything, not because it sparked romance immediately, but because it forced honesty where there had only been assumptions. I realized how my emotional isolation had affected others, how choosing safety over vulnerability had consequences beyond myself. Hannah was not asking for anything from me, only understanding, only the dignity of being seen in the weeks that followed. Rachel and I had difficult conversations about readiness and emotional availability. We parted ways not in anger, but with mutual respect, acknowledging that timing matters as much as intention. Hannah and I began slowly, cautiously, rebuilding our understanding of each other not as neighbors, but as human beings shaped by loss and hope. We shared stories of grief, of dreams deferred, of the strange ways love lingers even after it leaves. There was no rush, no grand gestures, only the steady rebuilding of trust and presence. For the first time in years, I allowed myself to feel without guarding every emotion. Hannah, too, began to step out of the shadow of her past, rediscovering laughter, light, and possibility. What happened next was not dramatic in the way movies promise, but profound in a quieter sense. We learned that jealousy can be a messenger, that pain can point toward healing if we listen instead of retreat. Our street looked the same, our houses unchanged, but inside everything was different. Two people who had once hidden behind fences found courage in honesty and compassion. If this story is touching your heart, if it reminds you of someone you never had the courage to truly see, please take a moment to like, share, and engage with this video. Your support helps these real, emotional stories reach others who need them. Before this story ends, I have one special request for you. Please comment below and share whether you believe some connections happen quietly, right beside us, waiting for the right moment to be acknowledged. In the end, I learned that love does not always arrive with fireworks or perfect timing. Sometimes it arrives as jealousy, as discomfort, as a mirror held up to the parts of ourselves we have avoided. And when we choose empathy over fear, we give ourselves and others a second chance at something real.